Okay, so 1085, I kind of laugh at the number because Code of Civil Procedure Section 1085 is the writ of mandamus law. So it's the law that often we are suing the government under when the government is failing to do what it's required to do, or when it is doing things that it is not permitted to do. So I don't know if the use of 1085 here was some sort of dog whistle to us or an inside joke, knowing that that people across the state would be looking to how to respond. Civil Procedure Section 1085 being one of the tools that we have available to us. But so this is sort of a density bonus on steroids. It's not going to promote low income or affordable. It actually weakens the incentives for real affordable housing, dilutes those incentives and gives it to more moderate income housing. And it sort of enlarges the by right density bonus projects and forces low income units to compete with income units, which will earn the density bonus project developers much bigger buildings and really squeeze out truly affordable units. So again, you know, it's sort of wrapped in the exterior of something that sounds good, but when you start digging into it, you realize that this is another attempt to destroy zoning as we know it, and it will lead to terrible outcomes and destabilization of existing neighborhoods. And it's not going to benefit the affordability issue. If anything, it will harm that.
You know, one of the things, Robert, that we talked about as a second wave problem with SB 1085 is that it makes it harder and harder for cities to approve the number of low-income units they're required to approve by the state under this rule called the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. We call it RHNA, Regional Housing Needs Assessment. It started out as a very helpful sort of a tool to help cities understand how much they were growing and what would be a good idea for their targets for approving housing units. And now it's a weaponized mandate. And of course, Scott Wiener played a key role in weaponizing it in 2017 with his Senate Bill 35. And that is a law that will kick in if density bonus continues to drive cities lower and lower in their approvals of affordable units. What it does is it sort of wakes up this doomsday law, Senate Bill 35. It gives developers by right power to build huge complexes in most of the cities in California that are going to fail to reach their RHNA number because density bonus is a failed state program that doesn't create enough low income. So it's a sort of a nightmarish circle created by the legislature. They do not admit to that, by the way. They blame the cities, and we can't understand that. Can you reflect on that a little bit?
You know, it's just another attempt to achieve one person's distorted goal at the expense of the public and at the expense of even the health of the public. You know, one of the issues here is that they offer this sort of fig leaf in this bill that a city could deny a project if the public health and safety are, quote, directly threatened. So, I mean, it's just astounding that we've now devolved to the point in these laws or these bills that these massive projects, these massive giveaways to developers can only be potentially denied if humans are directly hurt by them. And that is a standard that is extremely difficult to, you know, to satisfy. I had one case not too long ago where similar language was in play, and it was a developer tried to buy my client's small home for a price less than she was willing to accept. And the home was originally envisioned as part of this developer's housing project. And when my client wouldn't sell, the housing project was revised so that it would be basically encircling her home in a canyon-like manner where there was a freeway not too far away, and because of the prevailing winds, all of the dirt and the filth, particulate matter would just sort of, she would be a basin for all of that. And so I had an argument that the project as redesigned would have affected, directly threatened someone's health and safety. But for that to be the standard in this kind of a bill tells you a lot. It says a lot about that the real goal is not to protect the public, and if anything, it is to create this artifice so that people think that it's beneficial for the public, but in reality, it's not. And it's just a furtherance, a continuation of this failed effort, you know, for more and more density. But there's a very high price that would be paid by all of us.
It's pretty scary. I read that exact same phrasing in a couple of Scott Wiener's bills over the last couple of years, where the building has to be a direct threat to the public. And the only thing I could think of was, okay, so this building has the potential to fall over on top of somebody, because how does a building directly hurt the public? It's a meaningless, it wipes out the protections that used to be there completely, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, or maybe like the Millennium Hollywood project, where the city council actually approved 2 skyscrapers directly on top of the Hollywood earthquake fault, which I, as you know, sued over, and we won at trial and at the Court of Appeal and at the California Supreme Court. Yeah, there are some astoundingly crazy, illegal, unethical projects that would directly harm the health of people. But as a general proposition, all of these bills would harm our communities. And that's really the bottom line. They are a form of an attack under the guise of creating low-income housing, which really is not achieved. They're an attack on the existing stable neighborhoods and expectations of so many Californians who have worked hard to build their communities, and this would just destroy the fabric of those communities. I get calls from neighborhoods all the time that the fabric of those neighborhoods is just being torn apart by all of the pressure that's being brought to bear by these densification laws. And naturally, you know, when those things are profitable and when developers are incentivized, they're going to go forward and do them to the maximum extent that they can. And if that means that the existing homeowners and communities are ground down in the process, well, so be it. You know, I think the attitude here is in these laws and from these legislators that they don't care about the harm that it causes. They have their opinion about what's right, even though so much of it is a dangerous experiment that is going to be irreversible if these things go through. But they don't care. I think they care about satisfying their developer contributors, and everything else is secondary.